Welcome to this Shortwave radio channel, and today on our tip number 25, we talk about how to understand the solar indices that we hear all the time. What does it mean, and when is it good, when is it bad? So, okay, three numbers are given all the time. And by the way, I'll post the link to this very simple page that has the essentials of what you need to know. SFI, which is solar flux index. A, which is the average of the K index or the geomagnetic field in the past 24 hours. And K index gives us the status of the geomagnetic field around the Earth. And we'll try to explain it in the most simple way possible. Okay. We hear this all the time, we have information all the time, but what does it actually mean? And a lot of you have been asking me this, of course. So, first of all, solar flux. Solar flux is, you can say, the amount of energy that the sun is sending our way. So, the higher the solar flux, the more ionized the ionosphere will be. What does that mean? The higher the solar flux, the higher the maximum usable frequency. A lot of you have been saying, hey, I've been listening to the 10 meter band and it's dead. Well, with a solar flux of 69, the maximum usable frequency is probably much lower than the 10 meter band. That's why you hear nothing. But this depends, and it's directly related to the solar activity. We're in the downwards spiral of the solar activity. We're at solar minimum right now, which means that this 69 figure is pretty much the standard of what we see in the solar minimum. What you need to know is the higher it is, and you know, the simplest way to think about it is the higher it is, the better propagation will be. Simply put, we'll actually put it as simple as this. Of course, the reality is a little complex, a little more complex, but just think about it as the higher the solar flux is, the more interesting propagation will be. Both daytime and nighttime, because if it's higher in the daytime, it stays ionized stronger in the nighttime also for a certain time after sunset. So the higher, the better. That's pretty much what you'll have to think about. And how much and how high can this go? Well, the solar flux, the lowest number of solar flux, I believe, is 60. The highest that it can be is 400. Did it ever reach 400? Well, I don't know, but I can tell you one thing is that the highest I've seen was 353 in solar maximum around in 1987, 88, somewhere around there. So it gives you an idea that this could be very high. So when you see this rise, 70, 80, 90, 100, above 100, you should be excited because propagation will probably be much better. A and K indices are related. They are a different thing. They are telling you the story about the geomagnetic field around the Earth and how it's either quiet and settled or in minor or major storm. And this also affects propagation. Why? Because when the geomagnetic field around Earth gets into a geomagnetic storm, it often will have an impact on the ionosphere, which means signal will tend to be weaker suddenly. The higher the K index, the worse the propagation will be in general. Once again, a little more complex than that, but still on the shortwave bands, if you see the K index at 7, you can pretty much say that you won't hear a lot of the stations you hear usually, because the attenuation of the ionosphere will simply, or the absorption in the ionosphere will be too high. Signal won't bounce, they'll be absorbed. So you want to have the K index as low as possible. 0, 1, perfect. You should have a great night of propagation and of shortwave listening, or a good day of shortwave listening. K index is at 9, major storm. You might notice the shortwave bands are pretty much dead when K index is at 9. It goes from 0 to 9, and it's color coded. You see here it's K equal 3, and it's yellow. That means it's unsettled. If the K index is at 2, 1, or 0, you'll see that the number will be green. And if it's above, it's 5 or above, it'll be red. So it's color coded. Red, no good. Yellow, unsettled, but check the bands. and below 3, usually good conditions. The A index is a average. It's a number that is an average of the last 24 hour. I don't remember what's the range, but it can go above 100. Typically, that does not have an impact of what's happening right now. It is an average. So that means that if A would be at 100 but K is at 0, the important number is the K one, because K is what's happening now. The geomagnetic field is quiet. A is just to tell you that in the past 24 hours, what was happening. For example, here A8 means that in the past 24 hours, geomagnetic fields stayed pretty quiet because this number is very low. But if it moves on to 100, you know that, the past 24 hours has been pretty stormy in the geomagnetic field, meaning the propagation might not be as good. What I usually say and tell everybody, forget the A. Just look at solar flux and K. Solar flux, the highest possible, the better. K, the lowest possible, the better. If you just remember these rules, you should be okay. If you enjoy our videos, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.